right now, before you go out and face this world, because there's going to be a lot of challenges, right, that you're about to face. And all of them have significant consequences.
Have you ever watched a couple on television and thought, something feels off? They smile at the right moments, they look polished, and they speak like everything is picture perfect. Yet, behind that perfect image, you sense something's not real. That's exactly how people started feeling about Kimmy Scott and Maurice on Love and Marriage, Huntsville. At first glance, they looked like the ideal couple, educated, successful, well-mannered, and mature. Maurice was a polished lawyer with a big personality, while Kimmy carried herself with quiet dignity. Together, they seemed balanced, almost like a power couple others admired. But if you watched closely, especially during the silent moments, you could see the cracks. Kimmy was always the glue. She wasn't the loudest voice in the room, she wasn't chasing the spotlight, but you could tell she was the one holding everything together. She had a natural strength mixed with grace, and that balance made people respect her.
It was hella disrespectful, and it doesn't protect me. And now I have to answer questions from my mother?
Yeah, I didn't think about the collateral damage. To me, it was like, if I just apologize to my wife.
So now you gotta apologize to my mother.
On the other hand, Maurice was always in motion. He was building businesses, making speeches, hosting real estate events, and flashing that perfect lawyer's smile. From the outside, it looked like he had it all under control. But that smile, when you really examined it, started to look more like a mask than genuine happiness. The real unraveling didn't start with a big fight or a dramatic argument. It began when Kimmy received life-changing news: she had breast cancer. That's the kind of moment that shows what love is truly made of. It's not about Instagram posts or flowers, it's about being present, showing care, and walking through pain together. Maurice did attend doctor visits, he did sit by her side, and he even held her hand during treatments. But emotionally? That was a different story. Kimmy's body was battling cancer, but her spirit was quietly battling something else, the feeling of being unseen and unsupported by the very person who was supposed to be her safe place.
Kimmy is doing as admirable as a spouse. To roll over and suffer through it, I look at it as her standing by me while I'm standing by her. There's a difference between wants and needs. I'm a person who actually needs sex, not a person who wants sex.
Why do you need sex?
I need sex like Carlos needs mess.
There was one scene that broke many viewers' hearts. Kimmy tried to express how exhausted she was, not only from chemotherapy but from having to keep a brave face for her husband. She was smiling through her tears, almost as if she wasn't allowed to fall apart in his presence. Instead of being able to fully collapse into his arms, she felt she had to shield her pain so he wouldn't feel uncomfortable. That's not partnership, that's survival. Fans picked up on it. Social media exploded with questions like, why does Kimmy always look so tired? Why does she seem distant? Others went further, accusing Maurice of caring more about his businesses than his wife's well-being. And as the weeks went by, their silence became louder than any argument could have been. Then came the whispers. Online blogs and social media pages began circulating supposed legal documents, screenshots suggesting separation papers or divorce filings under Grant versus Scott. No one could fully confirm if they were authentic, but the timing raised eyebrows. These rumors started spreading right when Kimmy was knee-deep in chemotherapy. People began asking the unthinkable: was Maurice preparing for life after Kimmy while she was still fighting for her life? The story got darker. According to some bloggers, Kimmy herself quietly sought advice from a family lawyer, not necessarily to file right away, but to understand her options. At the same time, she allegedly discovered transactions Maurice had made without her knowledge. Reports claimed he was separating personal and business finances, making moves that looked like preparation for the worst without telling his wife. And then, the clip that shook the internet appeared. A grainy but clear enough video showed Maurice leaving a legal office with another woman. They weren't just walking, they were laughing, touching, moving like two people who were more than friends. Fans quickly dubbed her his arm candy. Internet detectives went to work and identified her as Dr. Nia Vaughn, a dermatologist from Atlanta. Though her social media was private, the connections were too obvious. Photos from seminars, LinkedIn trails, and background cameos all seemed to link Maurice to her. Suddenly, everything made sense: the distance, the coldness, the silence. Kimmy wasn't just unsupported. She was alone. The internet didn't hold back. Within hours, hashtags like Justice for Kimmy and Maurice Exposed were trending across Twitter and TikTok. Fans felt betrayed. Some were devastated, others furious, and many shocked to realize the couple they thought was so strong might have been surviving only for appearances. But it wasn't the cheating rumors that hit hardest, it was Kimmy's silence. Instead of rants or long explanations, she posted one Instagram story. A black background with one simple line of white text. People know exactly what they're doing. Don't be fooled by the performance. That was it. No names, no accusations. Just a single statement that cut deep and left the internet divided. Some saw it as confirmation of everything. Others argued it was too vague. But for Kimmy, silence was not weakness. It was strength. While Maurice was still making appearances, posting about work, and maintaining his polished image, Kimmy was moving differently. She stopped begging for emotional presence. She stopped hoping he would eventually be the partner she needed. She began preparing herself not with anger, but with clarity. That's when the real bombshell dropped. A reliable blogger, known for accurate information, revealed that Kimmy had contacted one of Atlanta's top divorce attorneys. Not just any local lawyer, but a powerhouse who specialized in high-stakes cases. That signaled something important. Kimmy wasn't just hurt, she was ready. She wasn't preparing to play defense. She was preparing to protect herself and move forward. Friends and family later spoke anonymously, claiming Kimmy had been gathering evidence quietly for weeks. Screenshots, late-night phone calls, messages, even photos of Maurice with the woman before the law office citing. Some sources said the relationship wasn't new at all, it had been going on in the background while Kimmy was in chemotherapy, trying to hold her family together. One heartbreaking detail surfaced: Kimmy allegedly found messages between Maurice and the other woman. They weren't explicit, but they were intimate. Things like, "I miss this. You always understand me." Imagine reading that while you're bald from chemo, exhausted from treatments, and crying yourself to sleep. When Kimmy confronted him, Maurice didn't deny it. Instead, he dismissed her concerns, blaming her stress, her medications, and even her mood swings. It was textbook gaslighting, making her feel paranoid instead of acknowledging her pain. That was the breaking point. This wasn't only about another woman. It was about years of emotional neglect, years of Kimmy holding the family together while Maurice polished his image for the cameras. She had gone to counseling. She had prayed. She had pleaded. But all she got in return was silence, indifference, and deflection. Filing for divorce wasn't a desperate cry for help. It was a statement. A declaration that she was choosing herself, her healing, her peace, her future. It wasn't an attack on Maurice. It was freedom from the years she spent carrying weight alone. For Kimmy, the paperwork wasn't just legal documents. It was proof. Proof of the quiet nights she endured, the neglect she survived, and the strength it took to finally walk away. The case didn't rely on dramatic headlines or scandal, it rested on something more powerful: the repeated absence of genuine love and concern when she needed it most. According to insiders, the documents Kimmy gathered didn't just list financial moves or business strategies. They held something even heavier: the quiet record of her loneliness. They outlined the moments when she reached out for comfort, only to be met with logical explanations, cold advice, or worse, silence. When Kimmy began losing her hair during chemotherapy, it wasn't only about the strands falling away. She wasn't just grieving her appearance. She was mourning pieces of her identity, her femininity, her power, her confidence. What she needed most in those moments was tenderness. She needed her husband's arms to wrap around her, to remind her that she was still beautiful, still valued, still whole. Instead, she was told to stay strong and hold her head up. Maybe Maurice thought those words would help. But when spoken without warmth, they felt hollow, like commands, not comfort. That was the wound that cut the deepest. It wasn't what Maurice did. It was everything he didn't do. No heartfelt late-night talks. No handwritten notes slipped into her bag. No whispered reminders that she was still the love of his life, even without wigs or lashes. Nothing to remind her that the woman she was bald, tired, and fragile was still more than enough. So, when Kimmy later stumbled upon those private messages with another woman, the pain became unbearable. Because in those words, she saw the proof that he was capable of being gentle, attentive, and emotionally present. He just chose not to be that way with her. That kind of pain is its own category. It's not just betrayal, it's confirmation that your suffering was never because love had dried up completely. It was because your partner simply reserved it for someone else. But that wasn't the only revelation. A legal insider revealed something shocking. While Kimmy was in treatment, Maurice had been quietly separating personal and business accounts. The move wasn't illegal, but the timing said everything. It looked less like financial planning and more like preparation, almost as if he was bracing for a life without her, while still smiling for the cameras and presenting himself as the doting husband. That was the final piece Kimmy needed. Her worst fears weren't just insecurity or paranoia. They were rooted in his actions. He wasn't standing beside her in the way a partner should. He was planning his next chapter while she was fighting to survive. And that's when Kimmy made her decision. She didn't storm out. She didn't explode with anger. Instead, she walked away quietly, with dignity. It wasn't just the end of a marriage, it was the beginning of her freedom. Those close to her noticed the shift right away. She moved differently. She spoke differently. She didn't explain or defend herself anymore. Instead of clinging to resentment, she embraced peace. She wasn't holding on to the hope that Maurice would finally become the man she needed. She had let go. Meanwhile, Maurice seemed to fade into the background. His online presence became more about business promotions than family. The heartfelt captions and personal tributes were gone. In their place were careful PR moves that only made people more suspicious. But the damage had already been done. The public had seen enough, and the image he had worked so hard to protect had cracked. The polished mask had fallen off. Kimmy didn't stay for drama. She stayed for love, for family, and for hope until the cost became too high. When she finally walked away, she wasn't broken. She was free. Her destination was never revenge. It was peace. And that is exactly what she found.